Hello, and welcome to the Emerge Leadership Connection, where we connect you with the ideas and concepts to unlock legendary leadership so you can emerge and become who you are meant to be. I'm your host, Cody Dakota, and on this meaningful Monday, I will be your leadership coach, teacher, and mentor. On today's episode, we will talk about T.S. Eliot's thoughts on the comfort zone, risk, potential, and perseverance. If this is your first time listening to the Emerge Leadership Connection, stop immediately and go back to episode 0. If you want to get the full benefits that this podcast has to offer and emerge into who you were meant to be at a faster pace, then you will want to go back to that episode to understand the theory behind how each episode is designed to help you improve. Before we start the episode, I'd like to thank our supporters, who allow us to continue to bring value to you while also allowing us to support amazing causes that will impact our future generations. If you would like to find out more about the causes we support, as well as how to become a member of our family and help us reach more people in order to impact our future, please go to www.emergeleadership.club, where you can check out all of our episodes, including many supporter-only episodes, as well as get access to other exclusive member-only benefits. Again, that is www.emergeleadership.club to get that access and officially join our family. Also, while you're there, you should click the menu button and click on Books. My book, Legendary Leadership: How to Obtain Repeatable Monumental Results, is currently in the running for the Extraordinarian Award for coaches with ideas that can change people, businesses, and the future for the better, and I need your help to win the award. You will see some awesome benefits that you can get for supporting the book, including personalized signed copies by me, a chance to get a limited edition, legendary edition of the book, appearances on this podcast, and more. Remember, go to www.emergeleadership.club to check it out. Now, on to the show. Today's words of wisdom come from T.S. Eliot, who said, "Only those who will risk going too far can possibly find out how far one can go." Now with this is a great quote. It's very simple, but there's a few key words in here that I think a lot of people tend to miss. But let's dive into the quote. Only those who will risk going too far. So first off, when you're trying to figure out what is possible for you, we're talking about what is your potential here, right? What is the most you can do at a certain task, a certain service, create within a certain product, whatever it is. We're talking about your potential. And the only way to discover what your potential is, you first have to take a risk. Right? Potential isn't just something you discover by magic. As nice as that would be, it is something you have to actually go out and do something in the world in order to discover what your potential really is. You won't discover, how far you can go if you're just sitting in your room thinking of ideas, hoping they'll happen. It'll never happen like that. You have to actually go out, do something. It's risky. And the higher the risk, the more likely you are to find your potential. So many people shortcut themselves because they don't want to risk too much. And that shortcome of potential, it can be gigantic. Now, with risk, we're not talking about taking stupid risks. We're not saying go all in when you're showing a hand with nothing, right? That's not the type of risk we're talking about. That's a bluff and that's stupid. Don't be doing that. But it takes a risk to say, okay, let's put something on the line and it's going to hurt if we lose this. But if we don't take the risk, we'll never know for sure. You don't want the risk to be something that'll be completely putting you out of business, but it's got to be something that actually hurts. Actually, part of how this podcast overall is designed is for you to put some risk. You have to actually take action and think at the end of each of these episodes. That is a risk. Most people in their lives don't risk thinking at all on anything to do with the future. They're too afraid to risk anything on the future. And to take time to purposefully think about the future, that's a risk. It's a small risk, but it's a risk that can have big impacts. And if you don't take that risk, you're never going to discover how far it is you can go. Now, another thing that T.S. Eliot is getting into with this quote is, what is the comfort zone, right? We are, as a human species, we tend to love to put ourselves into a spot and get very comfortable within that spot. And that is extremely detrimental in the long run. The world continuously is changing. New things are designed, new things are created, new ideas come into being, and all of these things continue to push our race further. So anytime you stop and get comfortable in one small section, what ends up happening is that small section gets smaller and smaller until it disappears. You can look at Blockbuster. That is what happened with Blockbuster. They got extremely, extremely comfortable being the head of the VHS DVD industry, and they got completely destroyed by Netflix. Now Blockbuster doesn't really exist. Actually, there's one Blockbuster that still exists up in Alaska, in a place where they don't really get any sort of internet services. So unless you want to be that one Blockbuster, right, you don't want to stay in the comfort zone. You have to get out of the comfort zone. And that's risky. But it's a risk that if you don't take, it is going to only be detrimental to you in the long run. The other thing here that T.S. Eliot's getting into is perseverance, right? It's not just risking going out, right? It's risking going too far, right? And how do you determine if you go too far or not far enough? I can give you an example of this in my own life. I used to run cross country back in high school, and I used to have this belief when I first started that if I kind of sandbagged towards the beginning of the races and ran comfortably, that I could be sure to beat people at the end and gain ground at the end. Now, while this was somewhat true, it didn't really serve me well overall. I did have more energy at the end, and I did beat a lot of people there, but there were also a lot of people who were not nearly as good as I was who were beating me still. And I discovered this later when I decided to start racing in a different way, where I would put more on the line at the beginning, where I would run faster at the beginning. And so when I crossed the finish line, I literally had nothing left in me. It wasn't a dead sprint. It was collapsing at the end of the race. But what I realized is I went from being a mediocre cross-country runner to being one of the top 50 in my state because of that small change. And there were certain periods where I was in the top 20. I wasn't the fastest out there, but I did a lot better than I would have if I hadn't have risked going too far. And, you know, when you risk at that kind of a level, it sucks. You are exhausted, you are tired all the time, but the reward that comes from pushing it at that level is something that we all seek. It is... I think it is a natural human desire and a true treasure to really push yourself to the extremes of what's possible. I believe in this theory of maximizing flow in your life, and when you are truly in a state of flow, that is where you really push yourself to the far extremes of what your capacity truly is. And that only comes from really pushing yourself. And the thing is, flow isn't something that is just for sports. Flow is something you can experience at any point in your life. It can be in business, it can be with your family, it can be with your friends, it can be in sports, it can be in anything. You can experience the sensation of flow. But flow doesn't come from being comfortable. It takes a risk. It takes going too far. It takes being too much in that moment. It takes pushing yourself to the extremes of your ability. It takes being a lot of it uncomfortable in order to reach that high level. So this is going to lead us into our coaching questions for the day. How far do you want to go? How far do you think you can go? If I told you you could go even further than that, what do you think you'd have to do to be able to accomplish that? What do you think too far is? Are you willing to risk going too far in order to gain the reward of what is possible? Where in your life are you sitting in the comfort zone? How can you persevere to a higher level? Who else in your life is not risking going far enough when you see the potential that they have? Welcome back, and congratulations! You are one step closer to becoming who you were meant to be. I'm excited to hear about the fantastic takeaways you got from this episode. I'd love to hear from you, so go over to www.emergeleadership.club right now and click on the tab to see how to contact us, as well as see our other amazing services. While you're there, if you would like to emerge into who you were meant to be even faster, then you'll want to officially join our family by clicking on the Become a Patron button, where you can gain access to exclusive, member-only content that is absolutely amazing, including access to supporter-only podcasts, Q&A sessions directly with me, and the ability to get shout-outs on future episodes, all while also helping to support some amazing causes which are actively working toward improving the future for generations to come. Just to make sure you got it, to join our family and get access to this exclusive member-only content and help some amazing causes at the same time, go over to www.emergeleadership.club and click on the Become a Patron button right now. I'm your host, Cody Dakota, and I'm honored to have spent this time with you today. My final message for you today, and listen closely. It's time. Wake up your potential. Let go of your fears and anxieties, and let's discover what is possible. Emerge and become who you were meant to be.